A very good afternoon to one and all. Okay, please give me a check whether the voice is audible to you. Okay, so in the last session, we started our discussion about the project management process, and we discussed that what is that project management process. So in that particular one, we discussed that there are four phases in the project management process. One is called as the initiation. Uh, in the initiation, the basically we need to define a new project and how we can define a new project. So for that we already discussed that what is the project selection method. Okay, we discussed only the one method related to the project selection. That method is called as the weightage average method or the scoring method. That means after collecting the lots of ideas through the brainstorming, you just need to list out all these ideas and give the weightage that likewise if you want to select the project which give you the maximum profit, or the project which you are going to be take the less time period. So on the basis of that, you can determine that which factor is important for you, and you need to give the heavy weightage to that particular factors, and accordingly you need to give the numbering so that each and every idea will get the some numbers, and whichever will get the maximum number, that project we need to select. So that method is for the selection of project. So the first step is that is the initiation. In the initiation, the initiation is basically a process which is performed to define a new project or a phase of a project. Then after initiate the project, we will go with the planning of a project, in which we need to define the what will be the scope of this particular project, or how much time period it will be required, how much time period it will be required, and what objective is going to be met in this particular project. Okay, so that will be called as the planning phase. After the planning, if you planned each and everything in the project, then the next step is how you are going to execute the project. So in the execution of the project, you need to actually do the particular work. Okay, so you need to complete the particular project which you've taken and fulfill all the objectives of the project. Then after the execution, you need to give the closure. Now, but before the closure, what happens in the execution phase? Sometimes what happens, the maybe there will be a delay in the project. Maybe the quality will be not be the good. Maybe the whatever the objective you have defined, that will is not going to be fulfilled. Or sometimes what happened, the customers also demanded that okay, previously we settled with this, now we need to increase the scope of the project. So at that time you need to if you're increasing the time period, the cost or the scope, then or you are going to decrease all these three parameters, then the execution is going to be delayed. So what you need to do, you need to do the controlling, that at each and every phase these things are correctly going to be happen or not. If you are changing something, then it is out of control, and the project is going to be delayed. Okay, or the cost of project is going to be increased. So what you need to do, continuously monitor the project. Then if there is a something mishappening, then you need to control the project. and after giving this after satisfied or after completion the work, you need to give the closure report to the customers, or you are going to hand over the project. So this is the four phases of the project management process. Now in which we already discussed the project selection method. Now there is a one more thing that is called as the project appraisal. So in the project appraisal, we require lots of things, like we require the technical analysis, we require the demand analysis, the financial analysis, we also require the environmental analysis. So in total, we required a one feasibility report, that whether this project we need to take or not. Okay, so that is called as the project appraisal. Now, after getting the feasibility reports, what things we also required in the project? We required the one project charter. Also, we need to define the what are the tools and techniques we are going to be used for completion of this project. We also required a one project plan, how this is going to be executed and what are the things we required. Then you need to define the complete project management process and the organization structure and the methodology of the project. So all these things we required for a complete project. Okay, now we are going into the detail of this all these things. So that things we already discussed, but in a different manner. That this is called as the life of a project. What is that life of a project? That means each and every project started with this particular time period. That means this is the this is where we are going to develop the project management team, and after the project we are going to hand over to the market, or product is coming into the market. So at that time, this is the initiation of the particular product, where it will take the some time period, but you can see the return will be, or the sale will be zero. Okay, or approximately zero. But as the product is introduced in the market, then the sale will be going to be increases. Okay, so in the introduction phase, there will be a high demand in the market. Okay, then whenever a public is accepted that particular product. Okay, likewise, if you are taking the example of car, so in the initial days, the cost of car is very high, and the people don't require that car. But as the car launched in the India, then after that, there will be a little bit increase in the sale of a car, increase of the sale of car, but still not too much persons are going to buy that particular car. But after that, they find out that yes, it's a safe medium, or this particular things we required for our family, and for saving our time. So they realize these things, and what happens after acceptance, the and also in the machinery there will be a growth. So what happens, there is a drastic change in the sales. So now you can see, after the acceptance of the particular project, there is a high acceptance, and that at a one period of a time, it will reaches the maximum sale. So you can see nowadays there is a say, if you see the last 3 to 4 years, so there will be a huge increase in the sale of a car. Okay, there may be some factors, but what happens now, the sale is increased, so it will reach this particular level. Now what happens right now, there is a, huge, already there was a huge sale of car, but as of now, the market is going to be changed. So what the market is going to be changed, the fuel prices are going to be hiked. Also there is a new models are going to be coming to the market, but each and every person didn't want to invest too much on the car. Okay, because already they purchased the cars 3 years 4 years back. So the life of a car is too high, so they don't want to buy the new cars, they continue with their old car. Okay, or maybe some empathy with their cars also, that they don't want to sell their first car and all. So due to that, what happens now, the market demands it decreases. So the sales are now already at their peak point. That means the production of the petrol car or the diesel car already reached the maturity positions, and now from this towards they are going to be declined. Okay, so now the sales are going to be declined. So it is not suddenly it is going to be happen. It will be the declination phase will be over the time. Okay, this declination phase is over the time. That means it will enjoy this particular maturity period, then it is going to be declined. So this is not only for the car. Each and every product which is firstly introduced in the market will reach the high sales. Okay, then after a particular time period, if the product quality is good, then the demand of the product is increases, but you need to give the time period also. Okay, and after that they will reach the maturity phase. Each we forwarded that particular, or we sell that particular product to each and every persons. Now the market is demand something new. So what happens, the sales are drastically going to be decreases. But if it is going to be decreases, then again it is a continuous process. Then you come up with a new product, and again the sales is going to be increases. So now what happens, the market of petrol and diesel car is decreases. So now the phase is decline. But what happens if anyone come up with the electric cars, then again this new product come into the market, and again this chain is going to be continuous. Okay, so this is the one product cycle. uh, Now we are going to discuss about the one project charter. Now what is that project charter? Okay, so see, project charter is basically a person who is going to be appointed by the company who is going to invest in your project. Okay, so if you are a owner, so you are going to take some idea. Maybe you don't have the clear idea about the project, so you are taken the idea from the some other person. So they will see, maybe the second person don't have it some capital. So we established a project charter, uh, uh, who is going to be basically deliverable. So what is that project charter? So project charter is basically giving the some answers, like who is going to do this particular project, what we are going to do in this particular project, then how we are going to do this particular project. So all this information we are collecting in a project charter document. Okay, so one project, about a project manager, there will be a project charter who is going to be define all these things. Okay, so who signs the project charter document? So it is usually the project sponsor who signs the project charter. Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. Maybe some problem. I'm reopening my PPT. See, if anyone having any kind of doubt, they can ask. Okay, so what is that project charter? So project charter is basically, as I told you, that it is first document of the particular project, which defines lots of things like who is going to do this project, what is in the project, how we are going to do in this project, and the project charter. Project charter is basically taken by the who is going to sponsor this project. They are basically define a project charter. So it is basically a one kind of a document which defines the objective, goals, constraint faced by the particular project. The all the feasibility report. Okay, likewise, you can see here is the one sample. If you observe that what will be the name of project, the project description, the project manager, the project sponsor, who is the project manager, who is the sponsor, what is the date of the approval of this project. Okay, so what are the team members in the project, what is their roles and responsibility of each and every team members. So all these things will be involved in a project charter documents. And what is the benefit of making this particular documents, that basically if we are selling that particular project, likewise generally happened in this software, if you developed any kind of a software, then you need to define this project charter, and whenever you are selling this particular project, any software to the other companies, they will ask that who did this particular project, who is involved in the project, what is in the project. So that is the one document you can given to their customers, so who is going to purchase your product. So that will be one single document, so it will increase the good customer relationship. Also in the project charter, you clearly define the scope of the project. It helps in avoiding the disagreements between the stakeholders. It also authorizes the existence of the project or establish the project. It also gives the project manager authority to spend money and procure resources. And it also tell us that we need to buy in from the project team members. So that is also the benefits of the project charter document. Then this we also discussed that what is the type of management, the general management, production management, process, program, portfolio management, out of which these things, I think we discussed that what is that general management. So general management is a continuous process, while the project management is only during the project, or it is a one-time process. In the general management, there will be no clear-cut objectives, while the project management there is a clear objectives. In the general management, no real start and end points, where here you need to define the start and end points. Then repetitive and non-unique, it should be non-repetitive and it should be unique. Uh, General management may be related to the product or process oriented, but the project management, it should be project oriented. Okay. Uh, so these are the some differences of the project management. Now this is called as the project life cycle. Now what is that project life cycle? That means, see, we already discussed that there are four phases of project. Four phases of project, starting with the defining or the initiation, then planning, then execution, then closing. So this will be started with defining. So that means the less time period you are required to define the project. Okay, but you can see the phase where you are doing the planning. So planning required now lots of time period. Okay, so you can see the starting and the end time. So planning required the more time period for the project, and these things we need to do in the planning. And then for the execution phase, the execution always started with the defining of a project. If you define the project, then the execution is going to be started, and the execution will be ended whenever you give the closing report to the, or you are handovering to the customer. So The larger part will be taken by the larger time period will be taken by the execution part. So here you need to do this particular kind of activities for the project. And last is the closing. So after the completing the execution, you need to hand over, that is called as the closing. So these are the things you can do in the in all these four phases, right? So here you can see you need to put the too much effort to doing the planning and the execution phase, and the time period is also high in this particular phase. These are the three goals we discussed, that what is the three goals of the project. Uh, Now, what are the objectives for selecting the project? So, if you are having the numerous of ideas with you, or numerous of concepts with you, or the numerous of projects with you, likewise, I told you that one organization like L&T. So L&T is having the lots of projects with them, but which project they need to take first, okay, or which project they need to take the priority, that they need to decide. So for that, uh, what are the factors, what are the things you need to remember, or you need to take care. So you need to take care about the, or you need to ask by yourself, what are the these conditions. So firstly, is the project is potentially profitable. Okay, is the project is potentially profitable. So you need to calculate, or you need to apply the lots of economic model here, that whatever the project you are taken, that will be a profitable or not. Okay, see, sometimes what happens, immediately you will not get the response of the project, because see, in a 1 year no one will give you the all the kinds of return. It will be dependent on the one time period. So that means over the time period, whether this particular thing is profitable or not, that you need to decide. The second thing is the project required, where say you need to define that if there is a need of this project, okay, why you require to do this particular project. Okay, so that you need to define. The third thing, that is the, does the firm have the skill to complete this project. See, it should not be happen that you are say you are good, your company is good in the area of construction of the industrial structure, but it doesn't mean you are good in the constructing this industrial structure. That doesn't mean you are good in constructing the highways or the roads. Okay, so that means they require the different skills. The industrial projects require the different skills. So you need to select that kind of a project in which you are compatible, okay, or you know about that particular project. Then you also need to select that kind of project, or you need to ask this question: does the project involve building strategic competencies or not? Then does it have the capacity to carry out the project? Okay, do you have the manpower? Do you have the machineries? Do you have the capital with you to carry out this project or not? Okay, can the project be economically successful? Okay, that is the same thing, that potentially profitable or economically successful or not. Okay, so all these conditions, you see, you need to frame the questions related to this, and ask to the project manager, or by yourself if you are owner of the organization, or you are a project manager, then you need to ask this question for before taking any particular object. Okay, now how we need to select the method. So we told you that there are different strategies to select the method. One we discussed that the scoring model, but there are lots of models for the selection of a for the selection of a project. Now let us take the models one by one. So the first model we are going to discuss, that is the benefit to the cost ratio. Okay, all these methods are basically a forecasting method. Okay, we are forecasting something. It is not the exactly answer they are giving. Ultimately, the decisions we need to take by ultimately the project manager need to take the decision. But this will be support the this will be support that whether they need to take this decision or not. Okay. So the first method, that is called as the benefit measurement method. So what is that benefit measurement method? So it is this particular method is based on the present value of the estimated cash outflow and the inflow. So see, if we are likewise, if you know about the business, then there will be a cash inflow. That means the cash is coming from somewhere, and cash outflow. That means you are spending on purchasing something. That is called as the cash outflow. So there may be cash inflow and cash outflow will be there. So by calculating the present cash inflow and the cash outflow, we are calculating the what is the remaining things will be there. So the benefits are going to be calculated and then compared to other projects to make a decision. So you need to calculate the benefit cost ratio, that is called as the BCR. So VCR is basically a one kind of an indicator. Okay, again it is a quantitative technique, so it will gives an indication, or it is showing the relationship between the relative cost and the benefit of a proposed project, that will be expressed in a qualitative term. Okay, if a project has a PCR greater than 1.0, the project is expected to deliver a positive net present value to a firm and its investors. Okay, so the project whose PCR is greater than 1, then they will give the positive net present value. Okay, otherwise, if the PCR is less than 1, then there may be some losses in this particular project. So that method is called as the BCR method, benefit to cost ratio. Then the second one is the economic model, or that is called as the economic value added model. So in this particular model, the performance metric that calculates the worth creation of the organization while defining the return on capital. So worth creation, that means it will give the some uh, positive things or the some good projects in the near future also. Okay. So it is also defined as the net profit after the deduction of taxes and capital expenditure. If there are several projects assigned to a project manager, the project that has the highest economic value added is going to be picked. Okay, so that is the same thing. Instead of PCR, we will do the economic value. That means if you are taking the 10 projects, then you need to analyze which project will be given the most value. Okay, in the near future. So EVA is always expressed in the numerical terms, but not in the terms of percentage. Then this scoring model. So we already discussed this scoring model, that the project selection committee lists relevant criteria, weights them according to their importance and their priorities, and then at the weighted values. So once the scoring of this project is completed, the project with the highest score is going to be chosen. Now, this is the one example which we already covered in the last section also, that you need to define the different parameters in which you are going to evaluate. So let us say it may be the if your profit is greater than 20%, then you need to say if any project will take the profit greater than 20%, then I need to choose this particular one. If a project will give the new market condition, new market, So that means we don't need to enter in the new market. We need to establish in the already established market. So that you don't need to select that kind of project. Okay, then increase the market share, new equipment share. So these are the factors. Okay, again, these factors are not the limited. These are the only by the research you can find out all these particular parameters, but you need to select whether this is important for you or not. Okay, and after finding the important, you need to take the total, or you need to give the weightage to each and every factor, whether this profit is in your sense, it may be given the 30% weightage to the profit. Okay, the increased market share, you need to give only the 10% weightage to this particular conditions. So accordingly you need to calculate all these things. Okay, then the next one is your payback period. Now, what is that payback period? Can anyone tell me what is that payback period? What do you understand by the term payback period? See, already the definition is written, but if anyone want to explain these things. Okay, as it is written that payback period is basically the ratio of total cash to the average per period cash, or we can say the payback period is basically a ratio of whatever the initial investment we did divided by the annually what we are getting into the return. So that is the annual cash flow. So it is the ratio of initial investment upon the annual cash flow, that is called as the payback period. Now, this is the very traditional method for the evaluation of any project or for selection of project. So it is basically measured in terms of time, which will take to recover the cost of investment. That means how much time it will be taken to recover the cost which we invested. Okay, so that is called as the payback period. Suppose you are investing today, let us say if you are investing the uh, 1 crore rupees in the project today, for for any new project. So how much time period you will take to recover that particular cost? Okay, so that will be called as the uh, because see, within a 1 year it is not going to be returned to you. So how much time period, let us say within a 5 years, 3 years, 4 years. So in how much time period you require to recover that particular cost? So that will be called as a payback period. Now see the so there are basically two formulas we are going to use here for calculating the payback period. So let us say the first one is the if first condition is if cash in a okay. So the first condition, if a cash inflow after the tax, okay, we talked as a CFAT, that is the cash inflow after the tax, after deducting the tax per annum is uniform. if the cash inflow after the tax per annum is uniform, even, or the constant, then we need to calculate, we need to take the payback period, or we need to calculate the payback period with the formula that initial investment divided by the constant annual cash flow. Okay, likewise, as I told you that if suppose your project cost is 1 crore rupee. Okay, so what is your total cost? That is the 1 crore rupees your total cost. Now you are assuming that you will get the return, you will get the return of your project after the, let us say, the 5 years. Okay, so let us say after the 5 years you will get the uh, payback, you will get, you are going to earn the profit. So that means what happened, you need to find out that how much things we are getting from each and every year from that project. So let us say I decided for the 1 crore. See, by the analysis, we will get the for the 1 crore investment today. Each year, we are getting the, let us say, only the 20 crores each year, or 15 crore each year. So in the first year, we are getting the 15 crore. Then in the second year, we are again getting the 15 crore. In the third year, we are again getting the same amount, because your project cost is, sorry, what the cash flow you are getting, that is the uniform, even, and the constant. Okay, so what happens here, we are calculating that we calculated that each and every year we are getting the 15 crores. So that means the 15 crores we have given here. So if you are taken that okay, sorry, this is, okay, see, there is a mistake. I took here the example of 1 crore, but in the return first year only we are getting the 15 crore. So that is not possible. So let us say we are taken the initial investment of 100 crore. Okay, initial investment is 100 crore, and each and every year we are getting the 15 crore. So now you can divide it, the 100 divided by 15. So what will be the 100 divided by 15? So it will be 6.66. So that means after this particular year, after this 6 year, or if you round off this 6.6 to the 7, so that means after the 7 years you will get the payback of this project. Means after the 7th year you will get, you are going to earn the profit from this particular project. So that things you need to evaluate for each and every project. Okay, likewise, if you are having the multiple projects with you, then you need to find out that which project will give you the good payback period. Okay, uh, then this is the condition when the whatever the cash you are getting, that is uniform, even, or the constant. But suppose if it is a variable, likewise in any project. Okay, if you are taking the example of a highway project, so let us say if you constructing the highway, now how the government will return you for that constructing the highway. They permit you that you can for this particular kilometer, you can put up a toll gate, and through the toll gate you can earn the money. Okay, so that means if the number of vehicle passing from that particular toll gates, then you are going to earn the money. Okay, so you need to calculate, you see that the vehicles passing from that particular road is going to be vary, it is not going to be constant. So that means you are getting the different cash, or each and every day, or in each and every financial year you will get the you will get there is a variation in the cash flow. So if the cash inflow is not even, or it is variable, then you can calculate the payback period of for that particular project by using this method, that A plus B divided by C. Now, what is that A plus B divided by C? So, A is basically the last period with negative cumulative cash flow. That means if you are taking a one particular project, then you need to calculate in which we are getting the negative value. That means we invested more, but we are getting the less return. So that will be the last period you need to evaluate. Then B is the absolute value of cumulative cash flow at the end of the period A. Okay, then C is the cash inflow during the next period after the A. Okay, we will understand this concept of A, B, C with one numerical. But what the main thing is, if there are two projects, if you want to compare the two or multiple projects, then the project with the least payback period, remember this thing, always select the project which is having the least payback period. So if any project is having the 7 years payback period, if the second project will having the four payback period, 4 years payback period, then you need to select this particular project. Okay, so this is the one numerical. A company is planning to take a project. A company is planning to take a project requiring the initial investment of rupees 50 crore 50 crore and is expected to generate rupees 10 crore cash flow in the first year, then rupees 30 crores in the second year, rupees 16 crore in the third year, and rupees 19 crore in the fourth year, and the 22 crore in the fifth year. So now you need to calculate the payback period. So for calculating the payback period, what we can do, we can create this table. So here you can mention the year. So in the initial year, okay, the first year, if you started a project, then there will be no return on your project. Okay, so what happens at that time, you are only going to invest it. So the invested return will be taken as a negative. So how much in initial investment? So 50 crore in initial investment. So here we are returning that how much we invested, and here we are written that how much return we are expected. Okay, so that is the minus 50 is the initial investment. Now what happens in the first year? In the first year, here they written that it is expected to generate rupees 10 crore cash flow in first year. So in the first year, they generated the 10 crore. Okay, already we invested the 50 crore. Now out of which we generated the 10 crore. Okay, but still we invested the 50 crore in this particular year. So what we have taken that out of 50 crore, we recover the 10 crore. So what is the remaining? That is the 40 crore is remaining. Okay, but in the second year, what happens? We again got the 13 crores. Okay, in the project. So in the second year, we are getting the 13 crore rupees. So now minus 40 plus 13. So again, now what remaining from the initial investment? Only the 27 crore is remaining to recover. Then in the third year, we are in also profited the 16 crore. So now minus 27 plus 16. So how much will be there? That is minus 11 crore. Now in the fourth year, we got the 19 crore. So now here is minus 11 plus 19. Okay, so minus 11 plus 19. So it will be 8 crore, but it is in the positive side. That means now you are earning the profit. Okay, now this is the profit you are getting. Fine. And in the fifth year, you are getting the 22 crore. So that means 22 plus 8. Now in the next year you are getting the 20 crore, sorry, 30 crores. Fine. So that means these are the positive values. So that means after this, why we are returning the zero? That because we are making start the profiting, but here it is shows that we are in the loss position. Fine. So how to calculate the payback period? So you can see. So here you can see the last period with the negative net invested cash or cumulative cash flow. So in which year it is showing the negative value, last negative value. So it will be shown here. So which year this will be? So it will be a third year. So that means A will be equal to third year. Okay, plus what will be the value of B. So absolute value of cumulative cash flow. Absolute means you don't need to consider the negative one. Okay, only the value you need to consider. So absolute value of cumulative cash flow at the end of period A. So end of period A, that means whatever the last period. So what value we are getting, that is the 11. So put up the 11 here, divided by the C. See, if you remember the formula I told you, that is A plus B divided by C. So this is the value of C. So what is that C? That is the total cash flow during the period after the A. That means after the negative time period, what will be the total cash inflow? Okay, so what will be the total cash flow after the negative time period or the negative cash? What we are having the 19. So if you are solving this 3 plus 19 divided by 3 plus 11 divided by 19, so the payback period will be 3.58 years. This is the payback period we got for the variable. If you are taken the variable cash flow, okay. So today we discuss the two numericals based on one if we are having the constant flow, and the second one we are having the variable cash flow. Okay. Is there any doubt here? But remember, if the payback period will be lesser, that project will we need to take. Now, can anyone tell me what are the advantage and disadvantage of this payback period? Just a minute, because the PPT is not working properly. Okay, so what we have discussed today, so we discussed the firstly we discussed this benefit to cost ratio. We already discussed today. We also discussed the economic model value. Then we also discussed the scoring model, and in the last session we also did the one numerical or the example based on this scoring model. And in the today's session mainly we focused on this payback period, in which we discussed about the two section, when the cash flow is constant and the second one when the cash flow is variable. Okay, but what are the advantage of this calculating this payback period? See, as we know that we calculate these things with the help of a simple empirical relation. So it is very easy to calculate the payback period. So this method is very easy to calculate the financial status, and it will give the idea that how much time period required to recover this project. Now, but what is the disadvantage of this particular thing? That it depends on the forecasting technique. So it may be possible, if your forecasting is not good, then you will fail to recover this particular project on the time. Okay, so likewise, I told you that in a first year you will get the 16 crore, in the second year you will get the 12 crore, in the third year you will get this much crore, but that will be dependent on the forecasting. So if your forecasting is not so good, or you are not adapting the good models, then you are not getting the exact payback period. Okay, also what happens, this particular type of the model will not take the value of the money. Likewise, say if you are invested 50 crore here, that means in a third year this 50 crores is going to be increased. If you have taken the interest, or if you have taken the value of this money, then the value is also going to be increased. Okay, so that account we are not taken, we are taken the absolute amount. So that will be the drawback of this particular method. So to get the more about this, get the overcome from this particular method, we can calculate the net present value of the particular project. Okay, or the NPV of the particular project. So in the next session we are going to discuss about the some more techniques used for the project selection. Okay, uh, if anyone having any kind of doubt, they can ask. But in the next session, what we are going to discuss about this net present value, how you can calculate for a project. Then we also going to discuss about the internal rate of return, the discounted cash flow, and we will do the some numerical based on this particular method. Okay. So this is all from my side. If you are having any query, you can ask. Otherwise, please type your enrollment number in the chat box, and then after you can leave the session. We will meet in the next lecture on Wednesday.